So this is actually my experience of doing my PhD. It is really hard, especially I have ADHD and dyslexia and combined with PhD. Let's talk about it. Outside is horrible and it is raining since 2 days ago or maybe yesterday, but it was windy as well. So I thought maybe I'm making a video today to update about my PhD. It's 9 months into my PhD. I usually cover a bit of spots on my face when I make a video, but I want to show real reality as a PhD student 9 months on. Oh my god. Oh well, let's start. I have so many things to talk about and I only have an hour battery on my camera, but ignore whatever the background. I moved house and I'm in between. Either I want to stay with my PhD or I want to move to another city when I find a job. So let's start. I don't really want to make this video so depressing because I want to make my video a bit fun, as well as when I look back I could say to myself, or I would say to myself that, oh, actually I've come this long. So I found that the university postgraduate admin that help me or help students and supervisors to manage their admin, finance and things like that, or when students wants to take leave or ask questions, I can say they are actually not organized. Every time I send an email, they would hold on to answer the questions, or they always say to me, oh, I will answer it later, or when we have the answer. So it was a bit confusing, as well as about the annual leave. So in the leaflet that I've got from my funder, EPSRC, I could get a holiday until 8 weeks, but in reality, I only have 30 days based on the university. So the rule wasn't clear, as well as everything is so hard to get. So the information is not easy to get as well. And I can say that's one of the challenges. However, I have to live with it and try to ask questions as early as possible because I don't really want to have the answer very late. 9 months to the PhD, all my glasses prescription are increasing. So basically I use a lot of computers. It's more than my undergraduate actually, because with the programming that became a problem and I had 3 big screens. The next one is computer problem. I had this problem since the beginning of the PhD, since the first month. Even currently I don't really need the high spec of computer. However, the computer that was given to me in the university actually didn't connect to engineering network. So I had the problem. Also, the DSA computer that was funded by my founder, actually it was really hard to get. And then so fortunately I checked the purchase order and I found that the model that they suggested is actually really old. At that time when I was in conversation within the DSA, I actually requested if I could get the Microsoft Surface 9 because I need the computer to use until 2026, fingers crossed. Or maybe adding another year, it means I will use it until 2027. So they agreed to give me the newer version of computer, but again, I cannot really use it because somehow it is a bit fiddly. Then I decided to buy myself my own computer. That's all about the computer, and I don't really want to talking bad about the computer because I get really tired of it. The next one is my dyslexia seems getting worse probably, but I think because doing a PhD it is very hard and a lot of things to read. Some of the textbooks that I use, some of the print are not compatible for me to read, and it was really hard. Sometimes also reading journal papers, that became a problem. And I tried to get some of the software that could help me, but actually the software also didn't really help me. So I tried to find the solution how I can actually read it faster. So the problem with the PDF reader, the one with the voice reader, actually it's very hard to understand for a long reading because it's very monotone. And also because it is a new topic that is different to my undergraduate study, then it became a bit like a chore. So if I'm not interested to the subject, it's very hard for me to enjoy it, and it takes some time for me to catch up. I like the programming side because for me it's like solving puzzle, but for the reading side it gets really hard. It was the last week of January when I met my supervisor, and he actually suggested me to read like 200 pages of textbooks. Because the books were so hard to read, then I had to look for the PDF version, and the PDF version actually have a limitation to print into PDF and then to put it in a computer. So it was really hard for me, and I read some of them and then I skipped some of them. Then I just decided, right, I don't think it is for me. My topic is about advanced air mobility, but my supervisor suggested me to take an example from helicopter. I think I told you previously that I had ADHD examination. The doctor or the psychiatric said that I have ADHD, which I know since I was 16, but I never had the diagnosis. So I decided to have the diagnosis like 2 years ago, but then because of the NHS waiting list, then I had to wait for almost 2 years. And then last November, I met the psychiatric, and then I've got prescribed an ADHD medication, which I've been taking for the last 2 weeks. And I really hope actually the medication could help me to concentrate more. I can see for the last 2 weeks, I feel I'm actually so much better and so much calmer. And when I wanted to do something, I immediately start doing it without procrastination. This is really hard for me to say it because I have dyslexia and ADHD together, which is actually normal apparently. Again, because it's like one is PhD is very hard to do even for someone without neurodivergent. I can say if I actually find the area that I like to study, I will be really good in it. So for instance, with coding or with memorizing much before exams or understanding something with graphs, it's so much faster for me to remember. Last February, I decided to speak to my supervisor about the problem. And the problem is actually the next topic that I'm going to talk about. So at the beginning of my PhD, I actually have problem with my supervisor because one, I don't really know him, and I didn't have a chance to get to know him in person. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity with him because the first time I met him, he immediately said, okay, this is what I'm expected. But he didn't ask me, hi Deborah, nice to meet you, I'm this, and tell me who you are. So it was something missing in the connections, which is actually bad. So for someone or anyone with ADHD or dyslexia or without, you still need to get to know your supervisor properly. Because if you don't have a good supervisor, your PhD will be a hell. I was like, really? But then actually it is true. So it is a warning that when you started a PhD, you have to make sure that you know your supervisor, and or at the beginning of your research, make sure that you are actually get to know your supervisor. It is not like to make your supervisor as a friend, but at least you know the person, what they like, so you can adjust how you study, how you engage. But then because I'm a mature student and I have experience, so I decided to speak to my supervisor about it. So we had that like heart-to-heart conversation about the PhD and what was my problem. So my second supervisor is the direct line manager of my first supervisor, because my first supervisor is very young and I don't think he's got a lot of experience in managing students or PhD students. However, I don't doubt his experience academically, but that became a problem because every time I asked something, he seemed a bit worried if my second supervisor will disagree with his decision. So it became a problem. And then it was really, really hard for me. That's why I thought that, oh, maybe I should just find a job. Maybe the PhD wasn't for me. So basically, during the interview of my PhD before I got accepted, I had this conversation and I asked few questions. So the advert of the PhD itself, it was said that the students can have company relation or industry relation, which actually attracted me to the position. But then when I actually started, I asked to my supervisor, so my main supervisor, and he actually said that will be next year. And the fact is, coming to 2024, of course, I asked him again. It seems like it would never happen. So I decided to look for the relation in industry by myself. So the crazy thing, I sent my CV, I contacted companies, and a few of them came back to me. And then I had a few interviews. Luckily, I actually read online that some companies are predatory, trying to get the information as much as possible from PhD students because they want to have a shortcut for their research. So this one company contacted me. When I had the interview, they actually said, oh, hey Deborah, we actually had the conversation. So we means their HR and also their department. He said that we wanted you to drop your PhD to work for us. And then he said, oh, I'm going to invite you for the second interview because I'm interested to your PhD. So tell me more about your PhD. Luckily, I didn't say a lot about my PhD. I only say about like the general. And then I realized they might just want the information that I gather for the last 6 months for free. Then I didn't give it to them because I said, yes, I'm going to give it to you if you call me for the second interview. And they never came back to me. Then the week after the interview, I actually have like an aha moment. Oh my God, actually the gap in the market is this. I actually spoke to both of my supervisor about changing the subject of my research. I don't want to do research in helicopter, but I want to do research in quadcopter. It is still a rotocraft because I realize I'm more hands-on and I want to have a interaction in a real items or a real vehicle. So now I changed my research to that, and I had the conversation with my supervisor about it. And actually, I could see or I could hear that he was quite happy about it. And so let's see. I decided to take a month annually because I needed it. So last month, the whole March, I wasn't working on my research, but I actually just doing a bit of interview here and there because I really want to practice my interview, but also I want to open the opportunity to work in the company. And then maybe I will pause my PhD. So it depends on what's the offer from the company, because I prefer to do research with the company instead of with the university. I want to improve my English pronunciation, to have the RP pronunciation, so receive pronunciation. So for some reason, during my PhD, I don't really have a lot of opportunity for that because I'm doing my research by myself. At the moment, I just want to see until 3 months, so until end of June, how is it? And let's see. And I really hope I can find a job soon, or I like my PhD more. I'm sure when I look back, whatever I learn, whatever I decide in the next 3 months, whether I'm continuing my PhD or I'm going to stop my PhD, I'm sure it is the best for me. And I will update you again in June, I guess. And that's it. Anyway, speak to you next time. Yeah. Bye.